Kalamazoo in the 1850s was a village just a fraction of the size of the town we know today. It had about 4,500 residents, among whom, incidentally, were about 100 freed African Americans. The town was just a fraction of the physical size that we know today, too. In fact, you can see the size of the town quite graphically when you're driving on Westnedge and Oakland north coming into town, and you will find signs showing the historical boundaries of the town at that time. It was a small village without any question, but it wasn't isolated from the world. Kalamazoo was the terminus of several north-south plank roads, and most importantly, it was also a stop on the Michigan Central Railroad, the railroad which connected Detroit and Chicago, and in fact used exactly the same roadbed as the Amtrak line connecting Detroit and Chicago today.
Kalamazoo in the 1850s and 1860s, specifically in the last half of the 1850s, was quite a bustling village, quite a progressive village too. It's astonishing when you look back and realize that Kalamazoo had Kalamazoo College, which was an institution of higher learning. The educational system, the public school system, was growing and getting large. We had people who were interested in higher education. We had the Ladies' Library Association, a Young Men's Library Association. We had a lyceum where men of the village debated the issues of the day. People were really interested in the issues. Certainly, some of the early settlers that came to Kalamazoo were the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, a lot of the people from the northeastern side of the United States. But we also had some more ethnic groups coming in. The Dutch came here in the 1840s and the 1850s and began to grow. Also, the Irish came with the railroad, and we had a big Irish population. And we had quite a number of free blacks that had come here from the other Midwestern areas, and some that had come here as slaves on the Underground Railroad and had decided to stay, because in Kalamazoo County, Schoolcraft was a well-known stop on the Underground Railroad. It really wasn't a backwater town that we might think of. It was a real bustling village.
Like the rest of the country, Kalamazoo had become caught up in the debate over the extension of slavery. In 1854, Kalamazooans, like Congressman David Walbridge, had played a role in the formation of the Republican Party. 2 years later, Hezekiah Wells, a Kalamazoo judge, attended the first ever Republican National Convention as a delegate.
Hezekiah Wells, or as he is known, H.G. Wells, was born in Ohio in 1812. He became a lawyer and was admitted to the bar in Ohio. And in 1833, as with most people in the northeastern side of the United States and in the Midwest, decided to come to Michigan. Land was very cheap and plentiful at that time. He originally settled in Texas Township and then later moved to Schoolcraft and lived in Schoolcraft for a number of years as a prominent attorney and also someone who became involved with the local village government in Schoolcraft. He was elected to various posts on the Board of Trustees and was secretary and was the village president, and then later in 1856 decided to move to the village of Kalamazoo.
The first Republican National Convention was held in Philadelphia in June of 1856. Michigan sent 18 delegates, including Zachariah Chandler, Governor Kinsley S. Bingham, and Judge Wells of Kalamazoo. The delegates met in a music hall and selected John C. Fremont as their presidential nominee. Fremont was the governor of California and had become famous as a Western explorer. The Illinois delegation nominated Abraham Lincoln for the vice presidential spot on the ticket. Though not well known outside of Illinois, Lincoln was a prominent leader within his state. As a member of the old Whig Party, he had served several terms in the state legislature. He had taught himself law and become a lawyer, and then served one term as a U.S. congressman. When his term ended, he resumed his law practice full-time. For several months out of every year, he followed the circuit court, traveling from county to county on horseback with the moving court, as was the custom of the day. When the fusion movement spread to Illinois, Lincoln, like many anti-slavery Whigs, had joined the new Republican Party. He became an eloquent party spokesman, giving strong speeches condemning the Kansas-Nebraska Act and the extension of slavery. Lincoln was not present at the Philadelphia Convention, so after entering his name for the vice presidential nomination, the Illinois Party worked to the convention for votes on his behalf. When the ballots were counted, Lincoln had finished second to William Dayton of New Jersey, Dayton receiving 259 votes to Lincoln's 110. 5 of Lincoln's votes came from Michigan. It is likely that Hezekiah Wells and Zachariah Chandler were among those who voted for him. In any event, they returned to Michigan knowing who he was. Meanwhile, the Democrats met in Cincinnati and selected James Buchanan as their presidential candidate.
Buchanan was frequently called, as a matter of fact, in this era, a Northerner with Southern principles, and the nickname for that was a doughface. And so there were a good many people in the North who thought that the Democrats had made an error by nominating a doughface to run. But because Buchanan was more or less inclined to bend over backwards to placate the South.
Upon his return to Kalamazoo, Judge Wells worked with Allen Potter, a local businessman, to organize a large Fremont campaign rally. They planned the rally for August 27th in Bronson Park and arranged for Zachariah Chandler and Governor Bingham to come as speakers. Wells then wrote to Lincoln and invited him as the only out-of-state speaker. Lincoln responded in a letter, "Yours inviting me to be present at a Fremont mass meeting at Kalamazoo has been forwarded to me. It would give me great pleasure to be with you, and I will do so if possible, but I cannot promise positively. Very respectfully, A. Lincoln." Late in the summer of 1856, announcements for the rally began to appear in newspapers throughout Michigan. Temporary wooden stands were built for speakers in the park. Special trains were chartered to carry groups in from Detroit, Niles, and Jackson. Kalamazoo's 2 newspapers, the Telegraph and the Gazette, traded barbs over the campaign.